All right. The April Conservation Commission is now in panel, and we'll start off with the roll call.
Michelle Fitzpatrick, Secretary.
Ray Rafferty, Vice Chair.
Ann Schmidt, member.
Larry Dunn, Chair.
Kristen Justante, member.
Giselle Malloy, member.
Tom Olson, member.
And Dave Prescott, staff.
Right. First order of business is the approval of the March 3rd, 2025 minutes.
Will we approve the minutes as presented? Second.
Any comments, changes? All right, well, without objections, the minutes are so approved. Feedback. I said somebody wanted.
Either, and I'm not sure why. Oh yeah, we're all getting feedback.
Oh, yeah, it's all loud for all of us.
Huh. Okay. Public communications. Well, we've got a bunch, nobody here, but
I saw somebody before.
is there anybody out there?
Chris is.
Okay. All right, there are a number of.
She has her
hand
hand raised, yes.
Okay, well, we do have other people have submitted one, so I just thought quickly go through that.
Are these in our,
What's that?
is this in our agenda thing?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, some are, some are. There was a memo from Ms. Kraus on the SB Butler School. Actually, there's two memos that was communicated. One's in the agenda and the other one didn't make the agenda.
I didn't get the other one. I just got the one on the agenda.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm just saying is I printed it out. But basically that was more, well, actually, there's several things. That was based on just a request for what our Conservation Commission position was. And I replied that we haven't weighed in yet. And I sent her back a reply that says she needs to well, I guess start to get involved and get before the town council meeting. The other thing that happened in SB Butler from communications is I received a FOIA request. I assume other people did, but not, well, I guess I got it for the commission. Most of our communications are public record because they were like this, letter sent to me. I only sent back like 4 emails that are not in our agenda or not, just a copy of what's already been submitted. So
So you had a FOIA request for Butler?
yes, SB Butler, sorry. So those are my 3 things on SB Butler. There was, we got the deep request, which is in the agenda. We'll discuss that later. There's also, we got an email, I guess it's from Tom. You can do it when he has his discussion on the Geological Survey Center. And
Before you go on, I have a question about the Butler thing. So what happens with the FOIA request?
I sent it the documentation.
Okay, so you just responded
I
with the,
responded, and so recorders already went back to.
okay,
He said, so that's checked off, right? We had an email, actually, we had a couple of nice emails. An email from Shauna Mendelson. And this was interesting, is I don't think that made it in there. All right. I said, she works with an environmental club for girls.
Oh yeah, this was you.
Did that get distributed to?
No, I just sent it to you and Kristen. It
Okay.
didn't mean, we didn't need to send it to.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to say because the girls were doing research for Earth Month. And it was a letter of appreciation for the resources that we had put together on our website. I did forward to our IT department because they're obviously the ones that do all the lifting on the website. And it was about pollinator, which I will leave to you to determine what recommendations you would want, her recommendation on adding to the website. So we'll leave that for you to discuss. The other thing is, I received a email from GOSA that says they received a 2025 Community Conservation Award from the CLCC. So that's what I had for public communications. Do you have anything else, David?
I don't know.
Okay, so we have a hand raised. Oh, did the hand go down?
It might have-
It went down. All right, well,
Chris, did you want to say anything?
okay,
All right, hold
back up.
Give me a second. I'll let you talk. Come on. There you are.
I just wanted to say thank you for being mic'd. It looks as I can hear you much better as a Zoom, as someone attending by Zoom, and I really appreciate it.
Okay.
So I'm interested and please carry on, and I just wanted to express that.
Great.
All right. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is report of chair.
So you or me?
What? Oh, okay.
Sounded like an alert.
And first item is, in our last meeting, you approved me supporting Bill 6229. I did draft a support letter and it is in the agenda. Other than that. I did request a waste management from SCARA on the 2024 cost updates because I've been keeping track. I think I got like 7 years of their data. I have not got that yet. So I will need to do a reminder to see if I can get that from David. I did attend in person an Alliance for the Mystic River Watershed Planners meeting. That was on March 12th at the Mashantucket Pequot Museum. It was more of a status update. There's no decisions per se to pass along. Other than that, the Alliance group is trucking along and have gotten some grants that they've submitted to do some work. So they seem to be well underway or to meet their stated objectives. Also had after our last meeting, I had a discussion on the comprehensive property disposition process with John Reiner. And when we get down later as well. And I provided comments back on that process to John. And basically it's there's a place for us to provide our input. And we'll do that as it comes across, and we'll talk about that when we get to the topic I asked you to talk about the status of some of the items. One of the things he did ask or recommend that I look at the Pleasant Valley School RFP, that they want to use that as a template. So I did review that. I did provide comments for changes back to John and Piazza for that. So those were, what my stuff. So I think we did last week. So this week we'll start on the left.
Oh, okay. You mentioned the geo survey. What's going on there is that the U.S. Geological Survey, based on a request from the Connecticut DEP in conjunction with the NER, are doing an estuary survey of the Aquanic River from April of 2025 to March of 2027. And this will basically develop a nutrient model for DEEP. They had previously done one on the Mystic River back in 23, just for information. And so they just were passing that information along. I was on, I guess it went through Megan, and then Michelle Maitland, and then got to the NER people and the ECCD folks. So everybody's staying in touch as far as what's going on there, but it's really no direct effect to us. It's just for information only. Additionally, I attended the CLCC conference back on March 22nd. I attended, they had 4 different workshop areas. one on LiDAR that I attended, which is for all the mapping and stuff. And I did talk to some folks in regard to what they're doing there with the Harvard University and Harvard Forest people on their mapping expertise. And then I also went and attended the next workshop on resilient forestry and practice. This was run by a combination of DEEP as well as the USDA, Department of Agriculture. And the thing I walked away from that was that there are opportunities for people that hold land, particularly forestry that would come under your PA 90 program, to better manage their forests. And I guess one of the things that got me is I don't know if anybody in Groton is doing that, okay, and taking advantage of the program. And so maybe, from our perspective as a Conservation Commission and interfacing with the PA 490 folks in open space, should we be sending a letter or providing information about this type of program to those landholders? Who has the responsibility for pinging on it, taking a look at, we do a survey, come up with these are the individuals that would benefit potentially from the requirements of the program, and then notify them, hey, this program is available. As a good steward, you may want to consider this as being a resident of Groton. We're just encouraging you to do that.
Didn't GOSA get a,
This has nothing to do, GOSA
I
is.
thought they got one for.
No, this is a big picture
Right.
program and I'm looking at it from the non-GOSA people or non-Avalonia, because they're well aware of it and they're participating in that program. I'm
Okay.
talking about the PA 490 people in
Yeah.
town.
So they can get, I think the last time I knew was like 40-60 million. I mean, there was a lot of money.
There's money available, yeah, and that's the kind of, it's run by the USDA, and they come out and assess your property and put a plan together. It's a two-phase process and then
Do we know if
implementation.
it's still funded?
Someone-
Yeah, well, as of right now, yeah, at least they still have stuff today, okay? But I'm just saying it's be the responsibility of the landholder to work, not through us, but
yeah,
just
no,
as a
it's-
friendly reminder to these people, I'm just trying to look at, that's what I walked away from the meeting,
Okay.
from the workship, is
Yeah,
for us to
any
consider something.
volunteers to reach out to the PA 490 folks and just point them in the right direction?
No, I have a question about the program itself. So I have friends that number of years ago inherited property, another town, not Groton, but their property had been in a 490. But because they inherited it, it stopped the 490 program. And the family had to restart it to continue it on in forestry. They, at that time,
That's a true statement. Each time the decision is granted by the assessor's office, the individual town assessor's office with the current owner.
Right.
And you have to actually go up and keep it current.
right, so they wanted to keep it current. They wanted to
Yeah.
put it back into 490. And they were required to hire a forester to come in and assess what's there and given some sort of report, but be part of that. They checked the rest of the boxes and they got the 490 status again. But it took a while, quite a bit of, but it was an opportunity at that time sort of to reset things, what
Right.
it sounds like, with some sort of going forward, these are some of the things that we're looking for, perhaps from the state side.
Mhm.
So is this sort of maybe you've had 490 for 10 years and you haven't done anything with your land, that this is a program that you might reevaluate or do some work within the forest?
Yeah, well, this is to be a better steward of the land that you own.
Okay,
Okay.
Like a survey.
Yeah, and from my viewpoint, as the town, we're giving you a tax break, okay, every year, no matter if to be holding this land, but if it's just sitting there.
Right.
Shouldn't you be doing you know, a little bit more from a stewardship perspective of this, particularly if it's, you know, because there's three different categorizations of 490. You've got the open space, you've got the dedicated agricultural areas and the dedicated forest areas, okay? Depending on how much and which
Right.
classification you qualify under. So that's, I was focusing in on the forestry people, just for one thing we've identified people just as 490s. So we really haven't spent the time to go look at who are you know, what's the three different classifications, you know, how these people are held, and then you know, and then focus on the forest. In this case, we'd be focusing on the forestry people as far as what's the program making available to them, and just, you know, gently reminding them with a letter or something. You know, I'd be willing to go. I haven't spent any more other than this, you know, light bulb that went off from sitting through this. I haven't done any further research on this. I wanted to bring this up here before I did anything else for discussion.
Let's say that I think we should, in light of what's happening at the federal level with funding, USDA, like every place, forestry,
Mhm.
parks, lands, it's all just being kind of slashed. Before anybody puts a lot of effort into it, we should really make sure that it's actually, the funds are actually there, you know?
That's fair.
I don't know how long that's gonna take till we actually know.
I guess the other question is, how many of those people who have it have actually been good stewards?
Well, no, that's why I
That's-
have no idea. I don't even
right.
know which of the 490 properties we hold right now are in each of the classifications. We haven't even gone to that level. I couldn't even tell you.
Right.
All I have is a list of 490 people in our central inventory. That's what I'm saying. I'd be willing to spend some time to go and, you know, categorize this stuff so that we can then get down to finding out who those individuals are, and then we can make a kind of a rough assessment. Is it even worth talking to these people? And then if the program is still in place, which, you know, we'll probably have, as time marches on, we'll have a better understanding of what's on and what's off within these individual departments. But you know, as of March 22nd, the program was still in place. So I know it's in today's environment, we haven't got past 100 days yet and all this kind of stuff, but as for what it is, that's where we are right now. But I'd be willing to do a little more dedication as far as
Here's my
refinement.
suggestion, is you got several steps. First step is who was in the forestry
Yeah.
category of the PA 490s, right? Once we know that, then I'd kind of look to our forestry ranger, our forest ranger,
She
and
knew it was coming.
Yeah, I saw that writing on the wall too. This is about
look
trees.
for a recommendation on whether you want, you know, you think it'd be a good idea to, it's more of a reference or reminder. I mean, talking about 3 or 4 paragraphs, but it still would require you know, taking some action to do that, if you think it's warranted. So I
Yeah.
think that would be my.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll gladly put the time in to figure out who those people are.
At least we have it anyway for the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, but the first part A is useful no matter what.
yeah.
Part B is, we don't know.
It'll determine whether the
It's not
program's still in
funded,
place.
we waste our time.
Yeah. But
So-
yeah,
Okay,
not a problem.
okay.
So then the next project was, and the third track here was to take a look at dam ownership and removal for ecological restorations in Connecticut.
Is that like a physical dam or you're?
Physical
next to-
dams.
Okay. physical.
Okay, and yeah, take a guess how many dams we have in Groton?
Probably quite a few.
It's 35.
Wow, wow.
Wow. And now we don't have any of the big ticket ones that, you know, are
Big
gonna
numbers.
flood out other than the ones on the Groton utilities, okay? But there are a number of, there's focused,
There's a
yes,
question. Is that 35 town owned or 35 period?
35 registered in the town of Groton,
Okay.
okay? So and what the focus here is taking a look at those dams where there's an ecological benefit for, you know, like they're blocking alewives moving upstream, trout or whatever, okay, from a wildlife perspective, is to focus in on those dams as far as for taking a look at removal. And here again, you know, the dams haven't, and the other things that go along with it is there's different categorizations and different inspection requirements. And I don't know, DEP, and a lot of these are self-reporting inspections, okay? Which kind of gives you, because there's you put, if we have 35, double, time that 169 times and you get thousands of dams in the state. And there's like 4,500 overall in the state. And the vast majority are all self-reporting. The state really gets involved in physical inspections of very few at this point. But, and based on last categorization and all this type of stuff. But again, this is something I think that we haven't looked at as far as on focusing in on, is there an ecological benefit for taking a look and pointing out and seeing if there's some dams that should be considered for removal within the town. I don't think we've done that either. So it's another area that I could spend some time if people think it's worth this is our responsibility, or is it worth our effort stuff?
Wouldn't it be like Department of Public Works or like we know there's a lot to know, like, is this dam necessary for drain? And there's a lot.
Well, that's the whole thing. I'd be willing to take a look at some of these dams are fairly straightforward. You get over the ground utilities and that type of stuff, who the owner is and that type of stuff. But there are some that are in the flow, and that we could, once we get that better categorization, they have a lot of information. It's just not available. You have to put a letter in to the DEP dams division, and then they'll let you give you additional access. If I was here as saying that I'm representing the Town Conservation Commission, or doing a study into this, I write a letter up like that to get the additional information as far as what areas are of potential ecological benefit by going in, because the funding of all this comes through the Save the Sound effort. Okay, they're the ones that are coordinating, and then they contract out the information based on the size of the project and stuff that gets tied to this, and it's all competitive type of grant type of stuff. But that all said, I don't think as a Conservation Commission we've even thought about this area. And as far as from an ecological basis, and it's something that we could consider as far as a long-term project to take a look at.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of different reasons why dams are there. Or let's say, from whatever reason, the effect of the dam being there. So if it was to preserve, wetlands or things of that nature, which is can be a little bit more conservation minded, I would think we would be interested to say, don't remove the dam, right? Because we want to make, but if an existing wetlands, then it should be, is that a positive impact or not?
Well, this all goes back to having accessibility to the information database.
My second point,
Okay.
on town property. How many of those 35 are on town property?
Surprisingly, a number of them are on municipal property between us and the city.
Okay.
It seems like individuals, you really probably can't build a dam, right?
No, there's a lot of historical, how these things got here is before DEP existed. Okay.
Half of them are just impoundments. I mean, they're just people that, had cows and created impoundments, and they have over the years.
There's all different categorizations here.
There's lots of things for it.
So, but I'd be willing to, if we're potentially interested in this area, I'd be willing to do some more.
Yeah, he wants to say something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was something I worked on in Rhode Island. So, there's a big movement around the country and the world to remove dams, specifically for ecosystem benefits, fish passage and whatnot. So they have been removing a huge amount. They're very costly. They cause flooding. As Tom was alluding to, a lot of people don't actually report out on the status of them. So there's been a lot of work, and there's also been a lot of work in terms of looking at the wetlands that are impacted by them, and also the resilience of the wetlands to recover even after that area is drained. So for instance, if you have an impounded area that has, fringing wetlands around that there, and you're trying to reestablish the historic riverbed and whatnot, wetlands will basically basically come back along the edge. So even though you may lose some in some places,
You
they'll
get the
come back.
area
They'll
protected.
just come, then within the riparian area and stuff like that. So but it is a lot of work, and so there is like I said, there's a big movement to removing them and save the sound, and others, they've done several. A lot of environmental organizations have gotten funding through the feds. We have no idea where that is anymore, for these projects and whatnot, but yeah, there's a lot of movement towards removal.
So is the town doing anything specifically, or it's just not a?
Not at this
Not
point.
at
It's not a priority.
Okay. So that leaves a gap, if you will.
Yep. There is.
Of attention. So, I mean, again, my suggestion would be to start with dams on town property.
Mhm.
I mean, A, you can get access. And B, we could see that the point is, should it or shouldn't be, and I assume who within the town would be an appropriate.
It's probably Public Works in terms of the status of the dams, but that being said, this topic will probably be coming back up again when we look at climate ready Groton. Because it is connected to flooding and whatnot, so that's probably the most reasonable time when this will be considered a little bit more heavily.
So are you suggesting we connect with Megan?
I would, yeah, I'm not saying now. I'm not saying now, but I'm saying, I think there'll be opportunities when, similar to, outreach and communications over Groton 2035, there'll be the same thing with Climate Ready Groton, and there'll be the opportunity to kind of ask about, we start talking about flooding, and that's when dams should come up, and whether or not that's a focus of the town or should be a focus or whatnot.
Okay. So step one would be identify dams that on town property.
Yep.
Would be a good starting point.
Yeah. Okay. And Save the Sound may and probably already has that information.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there's municipally owned dams are much easier to go through the process of potentially removing them or fixing them or whatnot, as opposed to those on individual properties, because most of the time they like it because the ducks and the birds and everything come there, even though it can have bigger impacts downstream if there's massive storms and waters. It does get very complicated. Yeah.
Okay, I can see
Yep.
that. Any volunteers to investigate?
Well, I'm familiar with all, because as far from the mapping and identification and locations and that's what I would be willing to also take this on. It's not that big a project to get involved with
But
this.
is identification.
Just identification only, and I did not realize the Climate Ready would interface with it, but I think that's a great solution, and we'll just have additional information ready to support that.
Right,
Okay.
that's what I was
Why don't
thinking.
we loop in like the Mystic River Alliance group?
They're limited, I mean,
Just
they are
limited
looking
group.
at some of this, but it's for this, not the smelt,
Oh, the herring.
the
Herring.
herring,
Yeah.
yeah, the herring, and so
Anyways.
they actually got money, as I recall, to do investigation analysis of there.
There is, I don't know the whole story on it, but Woodford Brook was
Yes.
listed as one that had been investigated before and stuff, and
Yeah.
that's through Save the Sound.
Live camera, you can watch them swim up
Yeah.
the screen.
So,
Not very exciting.
yeah.
Oh, it's exciting. They're swimming upstream. That's exciting.
Well,
They used to not be able to.
oh,
right?
that's
So
true. I
see?
mean, at least you could see them.
So that's actually, that's probably the
Progress.
best, that's probably the best example locally of a restoration project that.
Well, that's
has been-
if I may, the little history on that is that a number of years ago, there was that particular dam was Fish and Wildlife
Yes.
following it. And it was one of the major streams coming through Groton, coming into the estuary. And two different attempts to have fish ladders placed in there over time. So the first one they put in, there was a big announcement about it. Conservation Commission approved some open space next door to it to protect the area when a housing development went in, and it got washed out. It didn't work. So they brought in something out of Alaska, something that's a little bit more heavy duty, and found over the years it was a fish passage. So still maintain what was the Wickford Pond, but allow the alewives and so forth to return. And they weren't happy with the success of that. And so a few years ago, they removed everything.
Yep.
And so now it's, now a question is on the floor is, and I don't know if they do have the active fish camera,
Yeah, no,
located. I
looked
believe
at
they
it,
do. I haven't seen any of the results
days
from
ago,
it,
yeah.
but,
Yeah, because they're running right now.
right. So they put down a substrate that they can film, that's white, and when the camera's looking down, so they can see the fish
Yep.
actually crossing it.
And that's really where a lot of the technology has gone. So, we thought that fish ladders, will help them out. We just get them above the dams and, in the projects that I worked in Rhode Island, it depended if it was a historic dam, meaning it had some historic or scenic value to it of whether or not it stayed and whether or not they had to modify the fish ladder there. But really what they found is that the fish ladders, the fish are confused. And half the time they don't know exactly where the fish ladder is because oftentimes that's more gently, a more gentler stream that's coming down there. Whereas they're looking for the heavy
Right.
water to go upstream.
Right,
So
yeah.
they really, a lot of the movement has been, the best thing to do is to actually
Let it
remove
go.
it, let it go and bring it back to what it was.
Yep.
For lots of different reasons, but
Mm.
fish
Ladder,
passage is a
right,
big part of it.
that's- yeah.
And fish ladders are expensive.
But it's a good solution. You
Yep.
don't have to spend money and
Yeah.
fish know what to do.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Well, now it's good too that they're monitoring to show, and
Yes.
demonstrate
Mm.
the purpose of it.
And then the last item I had was they had the anatomy of land conservation transactions, which is an advanced topics. It's really a legal discussion. We got involved. Is basically bring stuff, and there's one guy came in and says, "Can how I've got a piece of dedicated open space, open space in my town, and I want to put an easement on it, even though it's town owned." And we went around and around on that. It was kind of interesting to hear the lawyer basically put this guy back in his box and the stuff that we had already kind of talked about over the years, that you really don't want to do that, but that there is it came out of it where there's the dedicated open space is a term of art that's in Connecticut state statutes relative to that there's it requires public acceptance of the land, as well as it then becomes applicable to, there's a park replacement statute that requires you to do a bunch of stuff if you want to change the status of it. He went into the whole that. We talked a lot about right of ways and overburdening the responsibilities to as far as what you can do and what you can't do in a right of way, and a lot of stuff about cameras on public spaces and stuff, and what you can and can't do in those areas in regard to the deep easements and stuff. If there's a deep easement on it, you really can't. You're kind of restricted in what you can be doing. So I wrapped all that up, and that's I think all I've got at this point. Yeah. Thank you.
Just that.
I also attended the conference. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a great experience. Won't get too much. Let's see, the keynote speaker, he was amazing. I thought he was well educated, especially in urban green spaces. His name is Dudley Edmondson, I believe. The workshop I went to, the first one was Advancing Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Through Land Conservation. That was a great group discussion. I learned a lot, especially the new term green gentrification. My next the next workshop I went to was the Connecticut Resilience Road and Streams Crossings Assessments Priority and Implementation. One thing that I took out of that I took out a lot of information from that, but they said the nature controversy is working with the town of Groton on a culvert.
Yes.
Yep, the culvert on Haley Brook Road Stream, and they are excited to be working with us, so that's fun. The next one was the forest management and planning one that I attend. That was an interesting one. It was, I thought it was gonna be a combined session. There was two presenters on completely different routes, but that's okay. One from Deep and one from the Yukon extension. I'll touch up on that when we get to that a little bit. And then the last workshop I went to was creating accessibility communications. So like if I wanna do something to promote our stuff, I learned tips and tricks on how to be accessible for everyone. But no, I had a great time. It was a fun time and I hope to go again next year.
Any actions from your perspective for the Conservation Commission?
So the one that really, the spacing out, the tree workshop that I went to, the group, the Yukon Extension gentleman, he briefly mentioned, and I'm going to reach out to him, but he started talking about a 2025 CT Forest Action Plan. I don't know, I agree with you with the feds and how regulations are gonna be, but I do wanna reach out just to see how that's looking. Nothing crazy, just introduce myself, offer any advice, or if they have anything that I can do to help them. But that's gonna be my next agenda this week, is to reach out to them. Mhm.
Yeah, this is an update, but I did not attend that one, but the Connecticut Department of Deep does issue a forest action plan every 5 years. So that they issued the 2020, and so this 2025 will be coming up. And so this is an update as opposed to 2020 I was involved in, where every 10 years they do a master complete bottom up look, and this is just be a update for 2025.
Thanks.
I have nothing to report.
Let's see, on Sunday, Representative Gardner was at the Diddy Bag and we had a surprise guest there with Dave Aldrich. So I can give you a couple updates from him. The compost site, they're still awaiting the permit. He expects it, or is hoping that it comes through soon at any time. They received a $4.5 million grant from Deep, and that's really on infrastructure. So they have at least most of the funds that they need to build the commercial composting site at the Preston land that they already own. And he also had mentioned that there was a $400,000 grant earlier that they had received from USDA. So that's very encouraging. It's moving forward. They already have the design in place for the commercial composting site, and they have identified an operator as well. They haven't signed anything, so they didn't want to name them. He was hoping that he would be able to do that soon. And the other thing was, there was one more thing. Well, if it comes back to me, I'll let you know.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So for about 8 years, we've been waiting, and he always says like it's always a slow, did he give you any sense of timing for when these permits might come through?
So the Preston Zoning and Planning Commission took a bit longer, I think, than they thought, but actually this is going pretty quickly. I think I've heard permits can be 1 to 3 years. I'm looking at Dave.
It shouldn't be for planning and zoning.
Well, for the from Deep.
Oh, for deep, yeah, deep,
Deep
deep
is-
permits right now are, yes.
So because they did the pilot project, Deep, that really helped Deep understand exactly what they're doing. And it sounds like things have been going quite smoothly with Deep. And Andre actually has helped get bridge some gaps there in communication with Deep. But yeah, so actually I think it's only been a year since they've done
Speed of
that.
light.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the con students later. I unfortunately didn't make the Mystic River Alliance meeting. I was sick. And I have some updates on bills. Do you want that now? So there are two climate environment related, three actually, that I've been watching. There are many more. But these three have been voted out of committee. They are on the calendar. Whether they are actually called to the floor for a vote, we don't know. There's an environmental rights bill, SJ 36. The one thing here that the group that is bringing this forward is quite unhappy that language was taken out. And just reading through the analysis from the LCO, they said other language changes were done to make sure that the state was not leaving itself open to litigation and lawsuits. But that's the whole kind of point of this, very similar to the Montana Green Amendment. So we'll see. It did get out of committee from GAE, but with that rather significant change in
What was that
language.
bill number again?
SJ 36. There's another bill, SB 9, that has to do with environment, climate, and resiliency planning. So this one has a lot in it. It's one of these kind of omnibus bills. You're shaking your head, you know this one. I'll just highlight a few things. One of them about floods and extreme weather. I think real estate, there needs to be a disclosure when people are buying. This would codify that. There's updates to the POCD requirements. I'll read you a small paragraph on that. There's the creation of resiliency zones and intermunicipal resiliency zones. So that planning can be done across towns, and quite frankly, with Mystic, you know, this town of Stonington just went through a resiliency plan, and Groton had already done quite a bit of work, and those should be married together. Let's see if I can find okay, so local plans of conservation and development. So this would update the statutes that are currently there. Let's see, are additionally amended to include the impacts of natural disasters, hazards, and climate change, and the existing anticipated threats and vulnerabilities from these events to the municipality. Each POCD must make recommendations and plans for the desirable use of the land in consideration of impacts of climate change. Under this bill, state funds would be prohibited for projects that are within a floodway or within a coastal high hazard area. Additionally, SB 9 requires DEEP and PURA to review their regulations and revise such regulations to include the most current projections on precipitation, temperature, and other conditions that would impact water quality, quantity, and distribution. So I think it's just going to be the difference here. There's a chart which I didn't study, but somewhere in here, that it's really for future as well as current, what we know, and planning ahead. If this gets passed, I think any POCD in 2025 to 2030 that goes beyond that, so ours is 2035, right? Would have to incorporate these new elements.
What are the odds?
I think we're already doing it. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're in good shape, but that's one to watch. And then there's also the HB 5004. So this is the very different bill from last year, and the last year 5004 did make it through the House, but it was totally redone. It's really mostly studies and not very many actions. There's some, like, for example, a study on from Pura to initiate a docket on phasing out gas, methane use, heat pumps. They're going to do a study on evaluating the value of heat pumps and that kind of thing. So it's very study heavy. Solar canopies are in here, energy costs, reductions. They updated the Global Warming Solutions Act emissions reduction targets. They were not we missed the targets in that original bill that was passed in 2008. And so they've been updated. I can send you this, Dave, and people can read it.
You can send it, I'll forward it up.
Yeah. And that was it for the bills. I think that was it. And then also for new business, we were going to talk about the
Yep.
artificial turf. Okay, great. Okay, I think that was it.
Thank you.
The only things I had was Tom and I went to the Trails Coordinating Task Force meeting. There was this past month. And also just bring folks' attention to the University of Connecticut at Avery Point has a coastal perspective lecture series that runs every 2 weeks. I think Tom is, I saw your name on the video.
I've
list.
shown up when I can. It's conflicting with the other meetings with the town council.
But anyway,
For
they've been doing a couple of lectures on coastal. Tomorrow night, there's one at 7:30. It's either at the auditorium on the campus, or you can just go to Sea Grant Coastal Studies at the university, and they'll give you a list, and they'll give you what I do is do the Zoom call. And tomorrow night at 7:30, they're having coastal low-income communities. Someone who's going to be discussing that. And that's it.
I just have stuff for what's on the agenda.
All right, let's see. Where are we?
Very early.
Let's see. Oh, we're very early in the reported. Okay, that was reported commission. Old business. Open space inventory. I do not believe we have an update.
No,
correct?
nothing changed.
Okay. Open space planning. I don't think we have any changes on that. On the Groton 2035, there is an update. But there was something included. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tom provided an update to his.
That's included in the
It's
package.
included in the package. And also I got one from Giselle. And Michelle said no change, which leaves.
We did all our work last year.
Yeah.
Mine's a work in progress and next meeting.
Next meeting.
So was this an action item from last meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't here and didn't realize that.
No, that's why I was yeah, I know, that's.
So I can try it because I saw the slides and I can
It's more of a,
vision.
well, we put it in before, and the question, did anything change? Because it's been a while, and we're gonna be coming up on, well, we'll get to this
Staff.
next, about where we are with the
Yes.
next round of the, I gotta say the words right, Project 2035.
Oh,
Groton.
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 Don't say project.
Project
Still didn't get it right.
2035 has a whole different
trying-
connotation.
Yes, Groton.
Oh,
2035.
boy.
So, wow.
Groton
Wow.
project.
While we're there.
Oh, my gosh. All right, so there's 2 dates you should be aware of. One is next week, April 24th. It is a Thursday night. The consultant Horsley Witten will be giving a presentation to the steering committee, which is Planning and Zoning Commission, on the status of where they are in terms of baseline reports and next steps. And then the second date is, I just don't remember what day it is. Hold
Are
on.
those open to public, those meetings?
I mean, it's a planning and zoning.
Planning and
Yeah,
zoning.
yeah. But this is a workshop. This next week's a workshop, but the May date,
Next week is not May 24th.
Yeah, that's-
April, 2 weeks, sorry,
2 weeks.
April
Okay.
24th. Yeah.
Just checking.
And then
It's
the
not
May.
May 24th either.
Wait, should be. Yeah, it is. April 24th.
The Thursday.
It's a Thursday. Right. And then the second date is 2 weeks after that, which is May 8th, which is gonna be the public presentation from Horsley Witten to the public. And that's gonna be over at Thrive. So the April 24th will be here like normal it's just a special meeting for planning and zoning. And you can watch it online too if you want to watch it, or you can watch it after it's be recorded. But the May 8th meeting will be a public meeting over with breakout groups and questions and everything like that.
I was gonna say
Yes.
Q's and A's at that.
Yeah, so we actually just went through it today, so we're still refining exactly the schedule, but there'll be opportunities to engage and whatnot.
You said that was at Thrive 55?
Thrive 55,
So
May 8th.
given the timing, our May meeting, we could
Mm.
discuss what happened on 4/24 to
Good.
determine what public.
No, our
Good.
May meeting on May 5th is the.
Con college,
students. Our
yeah.
official
Yeah.
meeting is after the 8th.
The 12th is
The
our,
12th
Oh,
is the actual meeting.
Well, I mean, if you put it on you have two items on the
Yeah.
agenda. It was just that special
One
meeting for all the students. And once the students are complete, we could have an agenda item.
Regular meeting for the
Right,
students,
but,
Oh, regular.
because it has to be, so that's already a pre-scheduled meeting, so it's a regular meeting. Only when you change the date does it
Oh,
become a
okay.
special meeting.
Gotcha.
So our
Oh.
regular normal meeting like this
Isn't
will
that-
be
Has
on
one
May
agenda
12th.
item.
May
That's right.
12th?
Which I will not be at, but I think either Bryce or Deb will cover that meeting. I'll be here for the 5th.
So Tom, you're suggesting we add
Yeah,
this to
because
the
it's a
agenda on
special
the 5th.
meeting on the
Yeah.
5th. For the students, we could have a second agenda item just to talk about any inputs for the PUCD meeting on the 8th. Because you still have
Okay.
flexibility at this point.
What?
You can have
That's
two items
okay.
on a special meeting.
I mean,
agenda item.
It's a
again,
regular meeting, Tom.
it's a
Mon-
regular meeting.
It's a regular meeting.
So
You just said that you're changing the agenda.
no,
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 No.
the agenda has nothing to do with the meeting. It's
Right.
all the dates. So the original date is May 5th. That's always our regularly scheduled. That was the stuff that we approved last year
Right.
going forward. So that's the regular meeting. At
Right.
the regular meeting, we're gonna discuss College. We
Okay.
can, and
But-
that's all we're gonna do, but we can add a
Right. That's
second
all I'm
topic to
saying
it.
is add on a second. Okay.
Let us do that.
so is this a draft?
No, there's no,
It's
so this,
still workshop.
oh yeah, I mean, this is,
Okay.
they're gonna be presenting on, and we should be getting hopefully the baseline reports back soon. So to start off, these are like the appendices of what everything is based upon. And really the feedback at the May 8th one is, and the surveys and everything else is guiding the conversations going forward. So
So will there be a handout in P and Z
Hmm.
agenda item?
I don't think
Available?
so. I don't think so.
So it's only a,
It's a presentation. So it's going to be a similar presentation on the April 24th meeting. It'll be a revised one for the May 8th.
that's what I was
Yeah.
asking, so.
But the presentation will, I mean, it'll be available. You can watch it, like
I understand we can watch it,
yeah.
I'm just saying there's not a.
there's no, I don't think
no
there's gonna be an
associated
attachment. No,
Document for publication of that.
not that.
presentation.
No. Not, I don't think ahead of time there won't be.
But there's nothing that prevents us from having a strategy at how to show
Yeah,
up at the
absol-
meeting and to
absolutely.
contribute adequately at that meeting.
Yes, that's fine, I'm just trying to think through what's gonna happen, okay. Well, no, we can't comment on the P and Z meeting.
No, but
No.
at the
But
8th,
right, that's the whole point of the special topic.
Yeah.
On the
5th,
5th.
8th.
no,
a
at our
special
meeting.
topic.
Oh,
At
you're,
ours-
oh my
at our-
God.
Yes.
And no, at our
Yes.
regular meeting, not our
Our
special
meeting.
meeting, not our
But the
special
8th,
meeting.
yes, right.
It'll either be a really short topic or we might spend a little bit of time on it. But we'll do it after the College one, so we don't impinge their
Schedule.
schedule. Okay.
Correct.
All right,
Okay.
got it?
I got it.
Got it. Okay,
You guys got it?
now where the hell was I? Oh, we were on.
Okay.
Okay, that was on Groton 2035. Budget support, well, the budget did get published. The town council,
I attended the public hearing on it and made a comment at it that the Conservation Commission fully supports that that there's a zero in the CIP budget for the open space acquisition.
and they disagreed and said, we want to give you money?
No,
Oh,
here's what happened, okay? Also within the town budget, there's the open space manager and all the requests that Mr. Berry had submitted were basically accepted by the town manager. So the manning levels to support open space and Parks and Rec stuff was all there. And I also suggested to the town council that they accept the mayor's budget as submitted. And then Mayor Franco took that on board and basically at the next town council meeting, slammed that through. And so all now the CIPs were not included and the school budget were exempted out, but everything else on the budget was accepted by the town council. So there's no cuts to Parks and Rec now the CIPs, and we're asking for zero. I'm sure that's going to stay zero. And so that should not be a problem. And that the next meeting is on the 10th of April to talk about the CIPs and the budget. And then that'll all be sent over to the RTM. So it's good news is that the Parks and Recs stewardship and open space
got
stuff has all got through
Nice.
unscathed.
so
Because last year they did take some hits
they did take some hits.
and I got past that this year.
So-
My
so
strategy
the
here.
RTM meeting is,
I don't know when the RTM meetings are off the top of my head.
that does allow public input, as I recall.
Again, there's another opportunity
Right,
for,
right, because we did it last time
yes.
and.
That's because there were
Did that
hits,
last
there were cuts by the town council at that. That's I was
Right.
appealing those. I was one of the few people that
So
showed up at that.
RTM date for budget,
Yeah.
we don't know. And could you put that on, to let us know when that is, because.
I might be able to find it now.
Yeah. All right. Budget. Vacant land support. Okay, so. So Dave and I had some exchange of what's going on there. So maybe I'll just turn over to Dave to provide the.
I'll just read exactly what I said. I sent you.
Well, okay,
Is that good?
but you can, yes.
Well, why don't you, do you want to give a little foray into where we're going with this? What you asked me?
This is, you did a fine job. You can read your statement.
He was asking, so Larry emailed about asking about the status of Groton Heights. You can find, everything's recorded, so you can see anything that you would like, and that'll tell you how the whole story goes, but basically. On Tuesday, March 25th, the Town Council Committee of the Whole was slated to identify negotiating a development team for Groton Heights. Due to legal procedural questions that were raised and need to be answered, the council is actually meeting tomorrow night to most likely an executive session to discuss that, to figure out and identifying a path forward for Groton Heights. Oh, that was it. You had asked about the information being posted online, and that's
Because
the
there was
reason
There was two
Yes.
RFPs received.
received, yeah. Well,
Well, I guess there's more, but two
Yeah.
made it through that
Yes,
cut.
that
and we
process.
Presented to the town council.
yes,
And I was going, can we take a look at the two? And you said, time out.
time out.
And so that's kind of the status that I.
That's where we're at. We're at a timeout right now and see what comes out of tomorrow night's meeting.
Hmm.
Or we won't see because there'll be
or
an
we won't
executive
see it 'cause it's
session,
Executive session. so
but
we don't know.
hopefully there'll be some path forward for that. So
And one would hope that the RFPs would be publicized.
I can't speak on any of that. I have no
I
idea.
said hope.
What do you
can
mean?
hope all you want. So like, I like, I'm not gonna hope
Not
because
secret.
until we know what's gonna happen
Maybe.
next.
So we
Yes.
can
Oh,
review them and
yeah.
take a position on them.
An RFP it should be a public document.
Well, the-
Aren't you asking
No,
everybody
no,
for-
No,
No.
no, it's not.
It's not the
It
process.
hasn't been
They did not
evaluated,
go through the
selected.
process. Oh, no, you weren't here. that
You
day.
weren't here for
You weren't
that.
here. That's another long
Okay.
process. So that's, we've been talking about where can we inject ourselves in the process, and right now we need to get the RFPs that are being proposed so that we could take a review and position on that. We don't have that yet. So that's why I was asking the question.
Yep.
So I guess we'll see if it gets,
What happened? Well,
we'll see what happens.
yes, exactly.
Okay. But there's gotta be a public
Version. How's that?
version at some
Like,
point.
like no cost
That's what the
values, maybe?
process says.
I- We'll see what happens tomorrow, or we won't see. We don't know.
That's the agreed to process.
I
by the
understand.
council.
I understand. I
To
just
have a
don't.
You're
public
talking
session.
to him as if he's in control of it.
Exactly. I have no control over this. This is completely out of our hands. I know that.
All right,
Iron it
anyway,
right back.
that is the process.
at
I will take
some-
umbrage if there's, if there doesn't.
But not with Dave. Take with the people that are
Yes,
actually
I just-
controlling
like I
it.
said, take umbrage. I wasn't looking at Dave. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Okay. So checkpoint tomorrow. Um, Now, on our other favorite topic, SB Butler, I think we talked about that. Got a bunch of stuff in, and that's gonna have to run through its process. Oh,
It looks like RTM Finance Committee for 2026 proposed budget review is Monday, the 14th, 6 p.m. at Thrive,
May 14th.
Or April.
April
Oh,
14th.
April 14th. Okay.
I don't know.
14.
Yeah, that's all.
That's next week.
Yep.
But that's a finance committee meeting.
Yeah, no,
Not
that's
the
one.
Oh.
No, it's not the RTM.
Oh, that's right, you're
public
right.
hearing.
We don't get to talk at the finance. committee.
Yeah, and then
wait,
so
hold
the
on.
next,
Oh,
and they're not gonna talk about it. They don't have the town council budget yet.
Oh,
They
They
don't
gotta
get-
go through the other two pieces.
Yeah, you still have to do the town
Okay.
council has to still do their stuff, so the RTM won't have any type of input until the May RTM meeting.
yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
it was still a month out for that.
All right, the other item under vacant land is, there's some items around, and also GCA provided input on the proposed, now we're getting to the aquatic extension or whatever it is.
For this, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and their issue was the fact that the plans call for artificial turf, but it was,
Wait, this is
Not real clear.
this is GCA?
Wait, what, we're talking about, what happened to the Butler?
plans, no,
Butler?
I thought we were off Butler.
We didn't say anything
No,
about
we
it.
didn't talk about Butler.
Butler's not on the,
Yeah.
there's nothing for town open.
There was a big
Were you
letter
gonna
from
review?
There is nothing on Butler. We haven't been through that. We're way at the beginning of the process.
And that was discussed during public communications. That's all we have.
Right.
Oh,
That-
okay,
Right, that
okay.
is all. I'm
Got
sorry.
it, got it.
Okay,
I thought there was more.
nope.
All right.
Again, early in the process is the Parks and Rec plan for the chronic plains. Updates, and I think it was at the last session we had.
Yeah.
At the park, they showed us the plans. And it wasn't clear to me what it was fields, et cetera, and now you're telling me it's really the kids.
Yes.
Well, it's.
I have it right here.
This,
So-
it's
oh, okay.
natural play area and synthetic turf,
Why is this not?
central lawn.
Oh, here it is. All right, so what I suggest, if you have not done this, is you can't just look at the plan. You actually have to look at the write-up for it. So this is an
I
inclusive.
couldn't get to the write-up.
If you click on that, if you go on to on Greater Groton, which you
Yeah.
did, and you actually click on the map, there's actually a slideshow that has multiple slides with it, and it explains. I went back to look because I'm like, there's got to be stuff in here, and it is. If you go, so this is the sheet that pops up. So I'm on Greater Groton right now, right?
Sure, okay.
If you go to previous, I'll get it back, don't worry. It's kind of in the middle here. So this is a fully, basically this is an ADA playground. It's also a fully inclusive playground. So what that means is a playground, what does inclusive mean? A playground where everyone can play together no matter how they move, see, hear, or think. What does it include? Soft, smooth ground like rubber or turf for easy movement. Equipment mix for all abilities, sensory area, music, texture, and quiet spaces. So then back to here where you got all, if it slowly goes. Come on. Back to where the QR code is, you want to look at it here. So this is just the rebuild of the playground area here. This circular area here is the only synthetic turf that they have here. The rest of it is grass. And it's specifically as a fully inclusive playground.
And today, if you go, if the
I love that.
playground at the Quantic Park today has a artificial spongy
Spongy-like thing,
surface.
yeah.
So I shouldn't assume anything, but whether it's the spongy surface or the artificial grass surface, it's still artificial.
This
Yep.
isn't like synthetic turf with the tiny little, oh, this is more like a spongy material.
I don't think that has been determined yet because it doesn't have any of
Well,
the specs
synthetic
for it.
Turf.
Says
is
lawn.
different than that lawn.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, you
It's
can,
like playing-
again, this is only in, it's only in design right now. There's nothing is passed or anything like
I
that.
think the point is, I mean, I've seen a lot of things where they throw in the rubber stuff and it washes away and it's.
But not
Right.
all of them. There's different types of
There's different,
synthetic,
right,
yeah,
right.
so you need to specify
You gotta
for
be
that.
clear.
Yep,
So,
yep.
but given it's restricted to that one area for like the kids play, I
Yep.
do understand the need for the spongy.
Yep.
Where the little kids will bounce when they fall.
So anyway, so like I said,
Okay.
I would suggest like, when you look at this, don't just look at the plans, but go back and look at the written descriptions. And again, it's Tabitha. So reach out to her and ask where they're at. I mean, this is Kenton Frost that it looks like that designed this. So,
Okay.
you know, like, and this is just in the development stage and stuff, and they're looking for feedback, but the feedback is that this is a different playground than your normal run of the mill playground specifically to
an
address.
all-inclusive.
Yeah, fully inclusive. Yep.
Okay.
Has that
All
been
right.
communicated? Did you see that?
Just.
It's posted on the town website. So.
Yeah,
Well,
it has it on one of the
Our
slides.
perspective, we should look at this and at our normal May meeting,
Yeah.
if there's an issue that anyone
Yep,
has, after
okay.
they look at the information on the town website,
Mhm.
we can raise. It. So we can put it as a topic. And
Yep.
either
Well, it'll
a
be
short
on-
discussion or
Yeah,
not.
it can be under.
Okay. Fair enough. We're time for the girls.
Students, okay,
Students.
not just girls.
Students.
So I have 3 projects. So met with the 2 Go Groton groups. And we're all meeting tomorrow morning with Megan to talk about the projects and her, interested feedback, and the students have questions. One of the really interesting things, the Playscapes group, the town hasn't chosen a school yet where they want to do a playscape. And Megan suggested that they will actually use the students' input to help them decide what school to use. So the students are looking at what all the possibilities are, and then the town will take, those, here's what could be done, match it up to the schools, and
Megan's
then,
getting free labor.
oh, sure.
Okay. No, nothing, that's good.
Well, that's,
Nothing wrong with
isn't it? I mean, I think it's exciting because we don't often
Get the
have
chance.
things that they actually, we know they're going to be directly used by the
Right,
town
right.
immediately, right? So I think
that's
it's
great for the
it's
kids. to
very
know that.
cool. They were very excited when we had that discussion. And then the backpack group, they're trying to figure out exactly what they want to do, but they've kind of settled on doing sort of a visual scavenger hunt. And they're looking at the cop properties. No, they're looking at Pequot Woods. And I put them in contact with Bray to help them, because you want a full season scavenger hunt, but they're only going to see what's out there now. So I suggested that Bray could help them figure out what people might be able to look for in the other seasons, since they won't see those. So those are both coming along really well, I think. And then the cop property for stewardship, they were a little bit later getting back to me after spring break, and I'm meeting with that group on Friday. And then once I see where they are, get them ready to have a meeting, hopefully with Tabitha and Mark next week. So those are my 3 projects, and I'll hand it over to Anne.
Yeah, Giselle and I have been working together. So with the Earth Day Expo folks, they attended a meeting at the library. When was that, boy? February, March?
Yeah, I'd say end of
Yeah.
February.
And there was a bit of a lack of communication after that. But once they came back from spring break, everything has been just fine. So everybody's, really happy with how that's going.
Good.
Yeah.
Instagramming every minute. Like there's.
What was
There's
that?
a lot
Yeah.
of posts.
I
every
know,
minute.
and that is what we wanted. And then the tree folks,
Mhm.
they just sent us an update
Their
and
proposal.
and their proposal, updated proposal, and I think it's looking good.
There's a few
Um,
touches that I'm going to
Yeah, okay.
include in there, but they're definitely in the right direction.
And then the other group is the community gardens folks.
very
And we
interesting.
haven't seen much from, heard much from
No.
them, so lately, but they
But
had a very
Their
detailed,
proposal was really good.
yeah, a very detailed proposal. So
Are-
they're
are-
probably
are-
moving right along
You getting anything ahead of time for the?
for the May
meeting?
5th.
Hard to say. We, we should be seeing, I basically, told Jen, and I guess this is a time to ask, that they all are talking about having the poster board things, and I asked that, so she could go ahead and buy them, give me the receipt, and I'll either pay for it or, I'll get reimbursement or whatever. I don't mind. I mean, what they're talking about buying is pretty minimal, so I'm not worried about the cost so much. If it turns into over $25, I'll let you know. But they all plan to do a poster, presentation of some kind at the Earth Day Fair.
We need to make sure there's a table for them
Mhm.
then. So,
Okay,
yeah.
So from a
we can do
process
that.
point of view, is it enough on the agenda to say, here's a topic will be discussed in the presentations at the meeting, just like that's what you just said, it's gonna happen P and Z. They're not gonna get stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, that's fine. I think
Yeah, they're-
we've always done it like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll just,
Present, And then
we'll
And
once
then
they
get them
make
on
it-
Zoom, and then they'll put the presentation up. Yep.
Are those presentations on May 5th, are they gonna be public like our regular meetings? I mean, or wait, whichever.
Yeah, it's gonna be, it's gonna be recorded in public. Yep. Okay, so that's what I have.
So it sounds like it's going okay.
Swimmingly,
Even better.
at least
than last year.
apparently swimmingly. We'll see.
Oh, You don't know.
You don't really know until you get to the fair and then you get to the meeting. So,
Right.
but they appear to all be moving in a good direction.
We've been
Alright,
emailing
very
back and
good.
forth.
Good. Good.
Let's see, so open space stewardship. So there is the COP stewardship plan in the agenda. And would you like to kind of introduce why that's there? And
Right. So what happened was, when we were trying to decide which, and this was the meeting Tom was at, and Larry, and with Tabitha and Mark, he said, we're trying to figure out which, property to assign to the students, because the idea with that project is to have them basically take 2 of, the applications that are available to create basically volunteer reports, volunteer reporting system. And we're trying to figure out what property to apply that to. And we originally thought, well, maybe the Pequot Woods, but they're not in the system, but the COP property is in the system. And we didn't have a plan, but Tom graciously put a plan together. But the idea is that they already have people that are doing walks, the board of people and they give some kind of report to Mark. And it's, I mean, what they get is random and not, sometimes it's in paper, sometimes it's on an email. So this way, we have people that actually would be interested in a process that's more straightforward and easy for the people to use. And so the students are going to evaluate those two apps for the COP property.
I think it's incumbent upon us to to approve like we normally do the Cobb family.
My only issue, I did develop this based at the request of Parks and Rec, is that all our stewardship plans to date have been for properties that are not held by anybody, any department within the town. They've all been focused on dedicated space, just dedicated space areas. So I don't have a problem with approving it, but as long as, we recognize that it's.
Well, we
town- it's a-
agreed with Parks and
yeah.
Rec, this would be our test case.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to have it part of our portfolio of
Yeah.
stewardship plans and approved the same way. And therefore, when we move forward, I mean, we can put a little footnote that says this is under Parks and Rec, but there's nothing in that, as I recall, there's nothing on our website that says this is for
No,
Parks and Rec. Right, so fair enough, okay. So it's been out there, so
Mhm.
we got a couple of choices here. We could accept it, looking for motion to accept it as is, open it up for discussion or whatnot.
the only thing I would say is that for clarity here is that Tabitha has reviewed it and I've incorporated all her plan.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have said it. Parks and Rec
Okay,
has
so they've already reviewed it.
Yep, they have reviewed it.
So move that we accept the plan as presented in the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, discussion. All right, well, without objection, that is approved, and I'm assuming by that agreement, I am authorized to then include it on our website, next website update.
Yes.
Okay. So,
I'll give you, you don't have you're missing some of on the website. It's not up to date.
I thought I got everything. Up there.
I'm just looking at it right now.
Yeah.
There's some
Uh-oh.
things that are not up to
Well,
date.
let me know, because I
Yeah.
went through. the
When I
last
do,
one.
I'll process the whole thing and I'll send you with all the other corrections.
Update, IT, three, stewardship plans.
And Tom, this is basically what we already sent to the students, or do we need to send them an update?
No, it's because we had no further changes here, it's
Right.
what they have, but
Right.
now I'll
The version
take all the
here.
draft markings off of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
plus it needs to be in a the PDF format.
Right. Yeah, well, she had it in a
Oh,
PDF
it is in
form.
PDF.
This is what you're looking at right now is a
Okay.
PDF, but I do the drafts in PDF also, just so they can be included here.
Okay.
Yeah.
But-
All right,
Give me 10 minutes tonight and I'll have it all done.
all right, not a problem, but,
Thank you, Tom.
while we're talking about somehow we used to have an IT section on here that dropped off. So there is one that was a suggestion back to, Gardens about adding the reference from. What was the group? I guess to add it to their reference material.
By Shana Mendelson.
Yeah,
That's really up to the commission to decide whether or not you want to include it.
no, that's why I brought it up. So Kristen, what's your recommendation?
Our now is facing on. No, I didn't, right?
Earlier in the meeting, we talked about the memo from, now I forgot her name.
So you're a
Shana,
woman?
Shana,
What's that?
Shana Mendelson.
Sandy Mendelson, there we go. There it is. And provided a guide for native plants. Kemp.com, guide to native plants gardening, yada, yada, yada. And what I basically said, gee, it'd be really be nice. The kids would love it if we could accept their recommendation. And I said I would
Yeah, so why not?
pass it to you as
I
our
mean, it's-
expert on
Yeah.
flora and fauna.
This is it right here. I just pulled it up. I can, hold on, let me share it.
Yes, I mean, I did look at it and I went, okay, I mean, I didn't have an issue with it.
Yeah, this is a florist. The only thing is it's a
Yeah,
temp
florist.
florist. Are you sort of promoting
Well, that's
the
the.
weddings, Easter, shop occasions?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
part
don't
of
think
the,
so.
that's part of the concern.
I don't think we can do that.
So yes.
We can't do that.
There it is.
If they could find another resource that's a little more,
Okay.
like
generic.
call me or something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely, you start getting into the shopping.
Ptolemy's already in there.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, right above
Oh,
the top,
okay.
shop plants, Easter, shop occasions,
Yeah.
I will get back and say, great idea, thank you for your input, but.
Well, I guess real focus is there is, the state of Connecticut does provide some stuff
Oh,
that's
yeah.
probably better to reference
I
to
think
for
we
pointing
have-
to.
we have a lot of that
We
stuff
have
on
that
there
stuff in
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We have, I'm sure we have all that stuff.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Well, thanks.
So they're recommending we add this to our site and we're saying,
And
we don't want to add a forest to our
unfortunately,
site.
it's, yeah, it's a commercial,
It's a business, you know,
it's a business, and that's not our,
no.
not.
our shtick to do that.
Yep.
Okay, oops. Space.
Outreach.
No, I'm still on open space. Okay, so there's a session, a walkthrough on Wolf Brook, is that, when is that? Next
Friday,
Next Friday.
next
this
Friday?
Friday
this
afternoon at 1
Friday.
o'clock,
And I
this
think
Friday,
that-
the 11th
that
at 1.
Tom and I are,
I responded yes,
And I
just because of
responded
the
yes, so-
stewardship
I was
manual
gonna say,
drafting.
isn't that your cleanup day though?
That the cleanup's from 9 to 11. This is
Oh,
at 1. So
okay.
I got a
Yeah,
busy
it's a
day. So
You do?
but I'll be dressed
it's a
already.
busy, yeah, so you'll be already dressed for it.
Yeah,
All right, so.
it was supposed to be a rainy day anyhow. So
It really is to provide input, what should be done with the property. One of the feedbacks we got from, again, no, that was Goza, why do I? Or GCA, now I'm confused. I guess it was GCA. About no bikes and horses. So that was part of the recommendation coming in. Interesting point, given the saying the fragility of the area, et cetera, et cetera. So this, something to keep in mind. It's not a bad thought. And we'll do the hike and the walk and we'll see what happens after
yeah,
that. So-
and the equestrian people were invited.
Oh, yeah, yes, we were invited.
Well, no, the equestrian people
Oh, we questioned people were invited.
were invited.
Well, that's
Yes.
fair.
Yeah.
You know, if one group says to exclude them, the other
Yeah.
group says we want to, then that's why we have a democracy.
The reason I know that is I got questioned through my Tri-Town Trail hat. The secretary of the Tri-Town Trail is chair of the equestrian people that were invited by, and they wanted more details on it. They do as a
So-
potential source there.
The May meeting. You'll get a very calm feedback. On. The book walkthrough. Yeah, a lot of actions coming out of this meeting.
So you have a hand, but we're not in public communication, so that's really your call whether or not you want to take it.
No, there's a hand. Let us continue through our meeting and see where we end. We did outreach. Well, the outreach, that's where I had the website on the guarding thing we just talked about. Any other items on outreach? All right, tree advisory board. It's your bailiwick.
I did reach out to Jeff Church. Obviously, he couldn't make it today. We are planning another date to be determined.
Okay,
I would like to attend the CT Advocates for Trees meeting at some point. Their meeting is exactly ours, first Monday at 5 p.m. That's, doesn't have to be anytime soon. I know next month.
your
pretty-
choice. As long as we continue to have a quorum.
Mhm.
If you're the breaking tide, then we'll tell you.
No, it's okay. It's
Okay.
okay. I would like to introduce myself formally to them because I have been chatting with them constantly via email all the time now. They keep me very up to date. And then the 2025 action plan, I plan on reaching out to David Irvin, the CTD gentleman. And yeah, that's all I have at the moment.
All right, is there a list of questions or feedback we want from Jeff? Whenever that meeting?
We had the 4 questions and I intend on making a couple extra questions.
Okay. Very good.
Yes, I don't want to overwhelm him.
No. All right, so tree advisory board, that was that.
So on that note, so don't offer up May 5th.
Yeah, I was not, I said all of that. I was like,
Cause yeah. Could potentially do the 12th, but it depends on what the agenda looks like too.
mhm.
So we can't offer the fifth because that's the Connecticut.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I
Yes.
just want to make sure she doesn't offer the 5th,
Yeah.
because that's our next,
Yeah.
technically our next
I
meeting.
mean, the earliest would be 12.
Yes, correct.
but I'll leave it in your
Yeah.
minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
No, they wouldn't be meeting on the 12th
we need
because
to
they meet the
discuss
first
the
Monday of the month. They didn't move their meeting. It would be the next one.
Yeah,
No, we're
it's-
talking about two different
Two
things.
different
right
things there.
It's two different things.
She's trying to get the tree warden here.
Yes. that is-
Potentially that'd be the 12th. And then
Oh.
if she wants to skip
sure.
out of the
Oh, okay,
first
yeah,
20
that's-
minutes of the kind of college presentation, she could go zoom into the CT thing unless you're gonna do that personal. Are you trying to do that by person or by Zoom?
By Zoom.
Yeah, you could, take 20 minutes out because it's just the presentations and then.
Yeah, but some of
I
the
would like to
positions are
see,
her
Yeah,
kids.
it's best, yeah, I see it can work.
Let's
the
think of
next-
July or June.
Okay,
Okay,
May's gonna be a busy month.
all right, so that's what I had, that was new business. I didn't have any other new business.
Did we, what about the deep thing? Do we just?
Oh, you guys didn't talk about that. Yep.
I thought we did.
no, the thing in
You
the
can just
packet.
accept- You don't need to.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
You mentioned it.
I mentioned it, yes, I think we get to it. Okay, so in the agenda is the deep handout. When you look at that. All right, well, let me get your guys' feedback first. Assume you have a chance to look at it.
I think it's just like they're checking a box, getting it. We really don't have input on whether DOT repairs the Gold Star Bridge.
Well, no, the issue that I saw on the Gold Star Bridge was the fact that if you take a look at the map, it's in the NDBs, the whole Thames River, okay, the edge of the Thames River. And that's where, when they came up with the Peregrine Falcons that are on the bridge. I guess my concern, the DEP has been doing a really good job here as far as being proactive and getting permits and all this type of stuff and looking at this, and they've done the right thing. I won't argue that. There's nothing for us to comment on. My comment is that I go look at that same area and I drive by that. There's massive construction going on with Mohawk there. Did they do anything? They're much more disruptive to this environment than, and so my question to you is, did Mohawk come in when do you take a look at NDBB activity for the stuff that Mohawk's doing?
Only for a receiver from the state. So we don't know if that, that's only if it's part of, that's the only way, unless they come in for a permit with us. And
Mhm.
which they wouldn't come in for planning. Right?
Well, no, I mean, they leveled buildings in the zone here. That Mohawk, these buildings that are on here, those are all Mohawk, and this building right here was totally leveled in the last month.
And that's,
So my question to you, as far as from the
that's not
staff,
city,
good question.
cause we would, if there's a demo permit, then we would have gotten it, but it would have
Yeah.
come in through. building.
Somewhere, yeah,
It's, the line's close.
the line's close in that area. Okay, so it probably is in the city.
It's probably
Yeah,
city.
Mm.
okay. Good that's answer my question. Okay.
All right, well, yeah, no, I read it and I didn't really.
Yeah,
have
that's the
a-
only thing that came to me was in the same general areas. I had driven by it recently. I know.
One of the questions I have is that Mohawk has closed off access to the water when they moved in onto that property.
Well,
adjacent
that
to
was the person that closed off access, there was an announcement in the day about a year and a half ago,
Right.
says that the DP closed it off because of all the maintenance on this, on the bridge after the fire.
Well, I was,
Remember the,
oh, right, right.
after the
But I
fire.
wondered that,
and so they closed it off, knowing that they were going to do this project, and they basically shut down that whole streeter thing.
well,
It wasn't Mohawk doing it, but it's their entrance to get to.
the only question I have is restoration, public access, once all that construction is done.
Talk 2029 at best.
Yeah.
Long project.
We'll
Yeah.
forget all about it by then.
The signs are still up, but it just says no access. So they haven't gotten rid of the boat ramp. I've used the boat ramp myself a couple of times. So I'm sympathetic to it.
Okay.
There wasn't a formal announcement that
So
DEP
yeah,
did.
This is, no one has any comments that we need to reply to deep, nor are we required to actually reply, right? It's just FYI, if you had an issue.
Referral. If you really had some major issues and whatnot,
Yeah,
then you could do it.
that's
but-
why I brought it up. Somebody had a major issue, right? Okay. Now, we have a raised hand still out there?
I don't think so. No, I think she put it down. Oh, no, it's back. You're gonna,
Okay, so Chris,
yes, you calling on it?
are you still
Yeah.
on?
I had raised my hand during the discussion of Wolfbrook, and I realized that I had not introduced myself previously because some people do not know me. After I did have the good opportunity to meet with my other Groton Conservation Advocate colleague, with you, Larry, and Tom. My name is Chris Kuhn, and I live in Groton. And I am hoping actually to join that walk at Wolfbrook. But what I wanted to emphasize was that the information that we do have from people who have walked the property is that there are many, there's much of botanical and value there. And also, nothing has been really looked at in the way of animal life, but there is a plan to have a formal evaluation of the property. So to actually catalog what is there. So my only concern is that before opening it up to equestrians to view the area and become enthusiastic, that, it may be useful to at least document, what is on the property. So people apparently have been invited, but I'm just saying that I think that needs to be very, very clear that there are individuals who are very familiar with that, with Wolfbrook, who have already testified, but that a formal evaluation is being arranged and will be funded, I believe.
Yeah, that's what this is part of. So this
Okay.
was an invite, basically from Parks and Rec on behalf of the forest management plan that's going to be as part of this.
Okay,
And additionally, the Conservation Commission has provided an updated stewardship manual for this. However, it's not currently posted. And we can provide you a copy of that while we get this updated here. But in that stewardship plan, there's a very large appendix that outlines the botanical values of this, that from a studies that was done by two scientists that were provided when Groton Open Space Association was advocating for against the as an advocate against in the hearings that went on relative to the development that was proposed at the time, back in the
Okay.
2004 timeframe. And that whole study is included in our stewardship plan, if you don't already have a copy of it.
I would love to get a copy, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, not a problem. So you'll send her.
Yeah, I'll take an action item to send her a copy.
And I think that's probably a good basis. After we do our walkthrough, any position we take, we probably come right back to that stewardship plan.
Yes.
And it seems to me that ought to be our input. The Parks and Rec, because after the review, we provide things that it's all included in there, slap a cover letter on it. And I think that might be a good way to communicate our recommendations, I guess. All right, so we'll keep that in mind. All right, thank you. Then we're into staff.
I think I covered everything. Yeah. We went through everything.
We are, so
See, look at that.
See, Michelle.
I move we
It's your
adjourn.
job.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Aye, it's all right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
We-
you.